Hi everyone, this is Keith Sauro. I'm the National Sales Director for DigitalSherpa, and I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to learn about the hidden power of social media. It's all about really increasing Google rank and growing web traffic to get more customers, but also to build community and engagement with your current residents and drive leads and referrals in as many ways as you possibly can. So we're going to dig right in. I just want you to know before I even get started that we will answer questions at the end of the presentation. And over on the right hand side of your screen, you'll see that there's a question box. Just type them in as you think of them, and then I promise you I will get to them at the very end of the presentation. You know, there's a real big challenge here with all internet marketing, and not just for property management companies or communities, really for any small business, and that is you're trying to get discovered. Nothing happens unless you get found on the web. You can't get new business, you can't get referrals. It's all about having those new people get to your website to see what you're all about. And you're using lots of different ways to do this. One is an ILS, where there's lots of aggregated communities like an apartmentfinder.com and others. But you're also trying to get proprietary traffic, trying to get someone to come directly to you, because when you have them come directly to your site, you're in total control and you don't have to deal with any competition. And now people are using social media and starting to realize that that's a great way to aggregate content and to get your information out there, since the average Facebook user has 150 friends, right? So you can get that digital word of mouth, or so to speak. So what you're trying to do is to get found. When you get found in the top of the funnel here, and then have that person convert to take the next step, whether it be they call you or send you an email or come into the community itself, but ultimately to get them to optimize or become a resident. When that happens, you then want to figure out why and how that happened, and then turn around and do it again. That's really the whole world. Get discovered, convert that traffic, figure out why and how you converted it so you can do it again and stop doing the things that aren't working. But there's three really big barriers that you have, and that's time. You only have so much time in a day. Expertise in this stuff. You may be good on Facebook, but you might not know how to write content, and you may not be able to provide that content in the best way to activate the Facebook fans as well. And then, of course, to hire it out, you only have so much budget, so you're trying to figure out the best way to do it. And there's tons of ways to drive traffic to your website, and it's getting more and more daunting every day. There are lots of you on the line that are using Craigslist. Some are using pay-per-click ads. Now you got all this social media stuff. There's search engine optimization and SEO companies that are doing things on the back end of your website. But truthfully, if you look at all of these ways to drive traffic to your site, content lives at the center of it all. Without content, nothing happens. And there are really two paths to social media marketing. Let's break it down into two things. You have content marketing, which is the stuff that you write. And you really want to write things that you feel like are interesting to the type of consumer that you want to do business with. The second thing is social networking. And that's really the place where people hang out to read the content. With 800 million people on Facebook every single month, and countless millions on Twitter and Google+, right? They are there because they want their information in this way. So just having a place set up, or having an account set up in Google+ or Twitter or Facebook isn't enough. You have to give them engaging content, or they basically aren't interested in you anymore and could potentially drop out. And that's really where people miss the boat. And there are 5 very important content marketing facts that you need to know. One is you have to create fresh, frequent, unduplicated is a really big key word. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And it has to be unique web content. That's a really powerful strategy, and I'll break it down in a minute as to how that drives organic traffic to your website and to your blog, which brings me to point 2. Using a blog is very important because the content management system makes it easy for you to populate content fresh often and regularly. And that's a very big part of the Google algorithm, having that frequent content. Also, blogs are very search engine friendly, and it presents that information neatly and easily and can be indexed easily by Google and other search engines. So that's really, really important. And then when you have a well-executed blogging strategy, it's also going to share earned benefit, SEO benefit, with its main website, with the related website. I'll explain that as well. And then there is web content that you distribute to your social platforms such as Twitter or Facebook is going to exaggerate that organic content, and it's going to help those direct traffic results that you're looking for. So whether you do this in-house or whether or not you outsource it, what should concern me as a property management company or a property manager? The biggest violation is duplicate content. And this is a quote that in January of 2011 that was that I pulled from the main Google blog. And it really talks about that they're evaluating multiple changes that should help drive spam levels even lower, and including that one change that primarily affects sites that copy others' content and sites with low levels of original content. And it's really a battle against duplicate content. Now, Google has always focused on original and unique content, but they really kicked it up a notch in January of this year. And the biggest reason is it really confuses the Google bot. Here's this little drawing I also pulled off the Google site. It says, I'm not going to list all of you. I'll have to figure out which one is original. And the bottom line is, if you have, and there are people out here doing this, please beware. There's content farmers going on everywhere where they'll tell you, and you're buying something very inexpensive, and they'll tell you that you're getting unique content. And it is unique, but it's a play on words, because that piece of content they're writing and sharing on 5 or 6 or 700 blogs out there, and it's the same story. And it actually could have the opposite effect. You're better off not doing anything at all, really, than buying that type of content, because the search engine gets confused, and the prospects won't be able to discover your content because Google essentially blocks it. It's only going to serve up the one that it feels is original, and the investment in that content really is wasted, and you get penalized for it. So be really wary if you do outsource, or if you write it yourself. Make sure that you're not cutting and pasting stories into a blog and regurgitating it, because it has the opposite effect. So be very careful. That content has to be original, and it has to be unique. I want to dispel a very big myth that people have, and that is they go to their respective city and they Google the city that they're in. And if they don't show up on page 1 for something like Apartments, Cupertino, California, they think that they're losing business. And the theory is that I have to rank very high for a popular query to get lots of traffic and business. Well, let me tell you, that's really not true, because aiming for Apartments, Cupertino, for example, California, there's way too much competition from sites with really high content volume. And Apartments, Cupertino is only really a small slice of that apartment pie. It's really not the traffic you want that results in meaningful conversation either. And the reason is, it's because that consumer doesn't really know what they want. When they type in something like that, they're looking to go to an ILS that has multiple listings so that they can figure out what they want. What you want to see happen is that you're coming up under very specific searches. I mean, think about it. Put yourself in the shoes of the searcher, because the search engines really do. In fact, if I type in Apartments Cupertino, guess what comes up? All these ILSs are really what's dominating that search, and rating sites, and it's really hard for you to compete with them. So take a deep breath, and I'll break it down why you're not really losing business. Most of you are on ILSs already. They're doing that work for you, right? But if you type in Apartments Cupertino Theater, okay, look what happens. Something interesting happens. It actually returns a specific piece of content from an apartment community's blog. Here it is. It's a blog that talks specifically about Cupertino Theater planning to reopen. Now, if I'm planning on living in that region, and that's something that interests me, think about the level of engagement that you could have with a searcher. When they type in that search, apartments, near Cupertino Theater, they know where they want to live. That's a very specific result. And then this story talking about it reopening, and also in the story talking about it being close by, that's a really good thing. And me as a consumer, I'm 10 times, 20 times, 30 times more likely to then at least click through to the website, or maybe click up here and look at some of the property options that they have, and maybe actually walk in and look at that property and possibly lease there, right? Think about it. That's a much more engaging conversation than just worrying about coming up for Apartments Cupertino Theater. And that's what I'm talking about here is grasping the long-tailed search. And this comes from Doug Cook, who's the search director of Twitter, Yahoo, and he also has a very popular wine blog called The Able Grape. And what he talks about is that 25% of the way people search are those obvious search terms, like Apartments Cupertino, California. But 75% represent what's called a rare search or a specific search. And let me give you some really specific examples. You would think that most people type in Atlanta apartments. That's not true. That's 25% of the way people search. The other 75% of people are typing in things like Atlanta apartments near schools, or Atlanta college apartments for rent, or Atlanta apartments, 2 bedrooms, teenagers social scene that is safe, right? These are actual searches. See how long they are and specific they are? That's how 75% of people search. And if you serve up content that answers that question very, very specifically, you are on the right track to getting real engaging traffic, not just more traffic, that results in actual business for you. And isn't that what you're looking for? Not just a whole bunch of numbers. You're looking for people to lease property from you. That's your job. And when you have these people, and the people are looking for content in lots of ways. Some people really prefer to go to an ILS when they're searching because they want lots and lots of ways and lots of opportunities to look at different properties in one place. And quite frankly, many of those ILSs, like ApartmentFinder.com and others, have branded themselves as a leader in the industry, and they're doing the work to make themselves come up high in Google searches around those obvious search terms. So they have you covered. But think about it this way. If people are using Google, which they are, and some are going to use everything, but people that are using those Google searches, if you can get that consumer to come directly to you instead of going through the ILS, you have a really, really good opportunity to keep control of that conversation and not worry about competition getting that potential renter over you. And that's what we're talking about. That's why content marketing and social media marketing is so important. Blah, 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 blah. Will you tell me how it works already? I've been on this for a half hour, 20 minutes, or 15 actually, and you still haven't broken it down. I'm going to break it down really, really simply here. I want you to think about Google as a big file cabinet for the internet. Okay? That's what it does. It searches the internet looking for unique, fresh content, and when it finds it, it wants to organize it and put it into its big file cabinet so that people can find it. That's its job. Now, your goal as a property manager or a property management company or an individual owner is to get as many search terms as possible into the Google file cabinet, and then to get as many of them to come up on page 1. Because the more ways you come up on page 1, the more opportunity you have to get found. So think of it this way. When you write content, basically that content gets put into a file folder. The link to that page on your website gets put inside a file folder, and then Google creates keywords, puts it on the file folder to index it, and throws it in the cabinet so people can find it. That's what it does all day long. Now, let's break this down. What is a blog? Because there's so much confusion around this. I want to try to clear it up. A blog, first of all, is a website. It's a website that allows you to add content easily. It's very interactive so that people can leave comments. But really, it organizes content in such a way that it makes it easy for search engines to find it. Now, in some cases, if your property does not have a website and you don't have crazy functionality that you're looking for, a blog could actually be your main website. And you could skip it. You could buy a URL, mycoolapartmentcommunity.com, and point it right to your blog and move on and save thousands of dollars in website setup. But most commonly what you see is a blog that's actually attached to a website, and it's an extension of your website. So this is the next question I usually get. If I have a website and my blog is a website, why in the world do I need both? All right, let me break it down. If I went to your community's website right now, what am I going to find? I'm going to find floor plans. I'm going to find interesting events on why someone should live in your community, right? You're going to find out maybe some things that are close by. But it's all about the community. It's amenities, it's pricing, and that's really important because people need to know that. But think about a blog as an extension of your website and really an extension of you. A blog allows you to do something called blogging, right? Which is writing content to help get you found. And when you do that, and when you have that strategy, and when you attach a blog to your website essentially, it actually shows Google that your main website, if it's connected properly, it shows that your main website is actually being updated. And one of the things that's really important in Google's eyes, like I told you earlier, is fresh, frequent content. And think about it. You design your website, and then you don't update it again until you need a major overhaul, with the exception of maybe pricing changes or a new floor plan or something like that. Otherwise, the content is static. So that's what brings me to blogging. Blogging is content that lives on your blog. Could be a video, it could be an actual post or story, it could be photos, but it's content that you feel like would be interesting to the type of consumer that you want to do business with. And here's why. This is a story that was written. Now look, this property has a workout facility, but they also have Franklin Athletic Center close by. And they thought a great blog post would be to talk about how you could boost your workouts, your at-home workouts in their community by using Franklin Athletic Center, because they have so many great classes and so many yoga classes and strength training, and it's a great thing that you can do. Oh, and by the way, it's really close to the community. So this story was written, and this is what happens. When you write a story to a blog, you create something called tags down here. Now these tags, like apartment living in Franklin or fitness community in Franklin, right? Those are just like the type of words that are the common search terms that you feel like are important to you when somebody Googles. Okay, and that's a place to start. So when you write the content and you put in those tags, let me tell you what happens. Google sees the story and immediately asks itself, is this content unique? Because it does know if it lives somewhere else. If it does, it gets confused. But I know this story is unique. So it says, okay, great. This story is unique. I don't see it anywhere else online. Oh, and look, it gave me tags. There are tags here. It's like a roadmap for me. Theoretically, I need to take the link to this page. I cut it off here, but it's up here. The link to this page, put it in a file folder, and name it these tags, and throw it into the Google file cabinet so that people can find it. That's what I do, because I'm Google. But I'm not done yet. Now I'm going to run through the content of this story really, really quickly, and I'm going to pull out other keywords that I feel like are obvious search terms that should be created from this content. And I'm going to put those in the file folder with the link to the story and throw it in the file cabinet. So every single piece of content that you write could create 10, 20, 40, who knows, depending on the size of the story, keywords. And a lot of those keywords might have nothing to do with the obvious search terms that are keeping you up at night. What happens is when you create lots of content, content creates keywords. And when you flood the internet with lots of content, you're creating more ways for people to find you through Google search and Yahoo search. And all of a sudden, you start to come up organically and get your site found. So content equals keywords. Remember that. Now, when you feed that content into the social media world, something else happens. First of all, if you think about it, who should be the people who like you on Facebook or follow you on Twitter? In a perfect world, those are prospects and your residents. And something really cool happens when you have your residents and prospects in that world, because you get to feed them content regularly. And when that happens, it's been proven, number one, to aid in retention of your community residents, because those community residents feel like they're a part of the community and they're getting information from you regularly over and above a traditional newsletter. And that's really cool, because guess what else can happen? When those residents see that content, they could actually say, oh, that's a really cool story, and they can click share or they can retweet it. And when they do that, all of their friends and followers see it. And guess what? Now you've just reached out to people who don't know who you are, who could potentially become a resident from that information that you're sending. And those people could send it to their friends and so on. It's called going viral. But what's really cool is while you're sharing information with people that know you to hopefully get those digital word-of-mouth referrals from them sharing it, or guess what? People still do talk, and they might mention to a friend, hey, this is a cool place to live. You should live here. But while all that's happening, whenever those people click on this content, all it does is take them back to the story to read it. But it's a signal to Google that that story is relevant. Relevance equals popularity, and it likes to serve up things that are popular. So when it sees the interaction here from two very popular websites coming back to read this story, Google says, hey, I remember all of the keywords that I created around this content. You know what I'm going to do? I need to take all of those keywords and I need to move them up higher in rank in Google, closer to page 1, so that people can find it. So what's happened is, while you're engaging people that know you to get that digital word of mouth and an actual word of mouth referral for more residents, their interaction with that content is helping new people who don't know who you are find you through organic search. And that's a really, really cool thing. And that's how you get your website found and start to create that new business. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's talk about that story I told you about just a little bit ago. Boost your at-home workouts with Franklin Athletic Center. Remember, I explained all the tags and keywords that were created from the story. Well, I thought like a consumer, and I went to Google and I typed in apartments near fitness center in Franklin, Tennessee. And here it is. This blog post was served up on page 1. Now, don't get nervous just because it's at the bottom of page 1. What you need to also see is that it is very, very specific. If the searcher sees specifically that it talks about Franklin Athletic Center right there in the body of it, that's something that's engaging to an actual searcher, because their answer, the question, the specific question or search term that they asked was answered, and they're way more likely to click on it. So don't get scared if you don't show up at the very top of page 1. Just being on page 1 gives you a shot. Here's another example on a blog post that was written: top 4 things to do with kids in Tulsa. You see the tags are down here just like always, and the content created tags as well. But I'm a consumer and I have children, and I went and I typed in apartments with kids activities in Tulsa, and check it out. It's right here. The 4th organic search is a link directly to that blog. And you know what's cool about that? It actually shows that searcher that this apartment community is very kid-friendly. That's what I was looking for. Are you starting to get it? Because when you serve up results like this, it's a very good quality lead, and when they click through to your site, you're way more likely to have them take the next step. Here's another example about talking about this going green with your high-rise apartment complex. Again, tagged and so on. But I was a consumer. Green is very important to me, and I like living in a high-rise. So I typed in green high-rise apartments in Evanston, and I want to show you what happens here. Right here is an ad. So that's a pay per click. Somebody paid to be there. The next and first 3 organic search returns. Organic means free, and organic is the very first listing that shows up right below the paid search. Will you think about this for a second? When's the last time you clicked on an ad over here or down the side here? Right? You usually go down to the first organic listing and click on it, because people have gotten smarter. They know those are paid. And in this scenario, the first 3 organic searches all served up that blog that's live at 4:15. You know what? Not only did the searcher want to live green and found what they wanted, but this shows authority of that apartment community by having those 3 served up. Last example, neighborhood spas in Rockledge. You know, hey, maybe I like my mani-pedis, right? And here's a great story about spas being very close to the community. And I typed in apartments near a spa in Rockledge, and here we go again. The very first organic search, first 2 actually, serve up that blog post, right? So you see what I mean? Content creates keywords that get you found. Now I want to tell you something. How do you execute this type of program? Well, First of all, you have to set up a blog. We prefer WordPress. They're very search friendly. There's lots of others out there, but there are all kinds of studies that say WordPress is the best for search. So in order to do that, depending on your technical ability, it takes a good 6 to 20 hours just to set it up. Then mapping it to your website requires some technical info, takes a couple of hours. Creating a Facebook and Twitter feed takes about an hour. Connecting it all to work together takes about 1 to 3 hours. And you need analytics attached to it so you can track what the heck is going on with your site. That takes a couple of hours. So in total, depending on your technical ability, it's going to take anywhere from 10 to 30 hours just to build it. But once it's built, now the real work begins. You have to write fresh and frequent content. You need to probably go out and follow some blogs and maybe comment on some other blogs, manage open source systems, share content to your social network. And there was a recent study that was done by the Social Media Examiner. They have a great blog if you're interested in lots of content. DigitalSherpa.com also has great content information. But they did a study in 2011 on social media marketing, and it was specifically geared towards businesses and how much time they're spending doing this on their own. 58% say they're spending 6 hours weekly, and 34% say they're spending 11 hours plus. Now, that time has to come from somewhere. So it's either sleep or customer engagement, or you have somebody that's focused on just doing this, but it can truly be done on your own. You just have to know what you're getting into, because doing this just infrequently, it won't work. You have to feed the monster all the time. And you also have to gain the knowledge, attend seminars, webinars like this, read. But it can be done. You just have to ask yourself one question. Is it costing me money to do it on my own, or is it making me money? If you feel like it's costing you money, then we actually have a solution, a content marketing solution for the apartment industry called CommunitySherpa, and we manage over 1,000 blogs in the community space, and we're growing like crazy. Here's what we do. The first thing we do is design a WordPress blog for you, and we create a custom header and colors. We want it to feel just like a page on your website. We're then going to map that site to the subdomain of your website. We're going to set up Google Analytics, and even if you want to, we can give you a call tracking number so that any calls that come from your blog you can track. We're then going to create a Facebook business page and a Twitter page for your property. Now, if you already have it, great. We just ask for the admin information, because we're going to then take those two accounts and we're going to physically attach it to the blog so that every piece of content we write will auto-feed directly to your Facebook and Twitter feed. Then what we're going to do is we're going to assign an account manager to you to work this crazy system that you see here. And what's going to happen is they're going to implement a content strategy for you. They're going to create 8 pieces of unique content per month that we write to your blog and we tag it, that auto feeds directly to Facebook and Twitter. Then we're also going to write 8 pieces of unique content and post it directly to Facebook. And we're going to write 8 pieces of unique content that we post directly to Twitter. We're going to tweet for you. We're also 24 pieces of content that are unique to you and to you only per month. And I mean it. I don't care if you're in Atlanta and we have a property in Puerto Rico. We will never write and use the same piece of content for you. That's very, very important, because that's in violation of Google's algorithms, and we're not going to hurt you or us by doing that. We'll also monitor your blog comments and monitor Facebook and Twitter for you. There's a big hole of misunderstanding. People are so afraid that they're going to get negative comments. Let me tell you, it happens infrequently. But if we do see something, we will alert you and let you know so that you can answer it. Also, there's a big sideline to having all this content. I know a lot of you on this call are worried about those apartment rating sites. Well, let me tell you something. By publishing this much content, number one, it could bury that rating site in Google search. But even if it doesn't, you're going to have so much content that comes up that it can negate any of the negative comments that are made about you, because we can't all have happy customers. By the way, people take this stuff in tongue-in-cheek anymore anyway. They know that there's just people out there that plug negativity, so it doesn't carry the weight like it used to. But it's important that you know, by having good content out there, it could bury the apartment sites, and it's another reason why people like to do this. We also email you those analytics every month, and you have a live account manager. It's like a PR person that can assist you with any questions, along with, again, giving you a call tracking number. And very soon we're going to launch mydigitalsherpa.com, which is a site that can help you with any tips and tricks to grow your Facebook fans and followers or your Twitter followers. We do all this for only $380 a month, and it's a 13-month contract. And let me explain how that works. If you signed on with us, we would begin the following month and we would design your blog. You're billed $380 that month. You're then billed the next month as well, another $380 while we're finishing all of the design and connectivity. By the middle of that following month, you're ready for content. And we assign you that account manager. They get with you, they talk with you, what makes your community click, what's close to you, what do you like, what do your residents like, so we can start to get a strategy together. That first half month we write 4 pieces of content, and then every month after that we write 8 pieces of unique content for you every month. And the reason the contract is 13 months is we didn't want to have to hit anyone at any time with big fees up front for setup and maintenance. So we just took the overall cost of the program and divided it over 13 months. And that's why it's a 13-month program, so you have a manageable monthly fee and no big upfront fee. As a Community Sherpa client, what do you need to do to be successful? 2 very simple things. One is, you know your community better than us. Just be available when we email you or call you to give us content ideas or direction. If you're intimidated by it and you don't have any ideas, don't worry. We'll ask lots of questions and we'll come up with ideas. If you can't reach us one month, so be it, because we have a really good system about writing hyper-local content that works in the apartment industry if you can't get with us. But you know what? Tell us what you like and tell us what you don't like about the content so we can grow with you and make sure we're getting as close to your voice as possible. The other thing is you need to grow your social media fans and followers. We don't know your residents and prospects, you do. So get your customers, prospects, and even your friends to like your page on Facebook and follow you on Twitter. And guess what? Your account manager can give you tips and tricks on how to do that best as well. So those are the 2 things. Everything else we'll do. We'll do all the heavy lifting for you. Why do people buy Community Sherpa? Because they know they need to attract more online traffic. And they know that finding new customers are important, and content that makes you look like an expert is important too. And generating leads, of course. Without leads, you can't get business. And you know now that a social media presence is really important. And you probably have owners saying, hey, why aren't you doing social media? I know it's important. Every single multifamily housing or apartment seminars that you attend say you need to blog and use social media. And all of this, by hiring us, will help you save a ton of time and money, and that all equals your ROI. By the way, if you're looking for a solution for 25 or more communities, reach out to us and find out about our Community Sherpa Network Basic or Community Sherpa Network Professional, because when you have that many properties, if we set you up in a network, it can save you lots of money. We also have something called Sherpa Lite and Sherpa Basic that you can certainly ask your apartment finder representative, or you can email me for more information about it at sauro@nci.com. That's a very different program, though. That isn't an SEO driven program. That's really more for you to engage your residents. So if SEO isn't important, you can ask us about Basic or Lite, Sherpa Lite. You can also visit our website, community-sherpa.com, and inquire directly. Or of course, if you work with someone at Apartment Finder, you can ask them. They're very versed in the program. So I want to thank you very much, and I'm going to open the floor for questions here in 1 second. So thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day, and happy blogging.